We are on week 4 of our mini series Beneath the Soil. And this week we are going to slow down and reset because many times achievement feels like survival. So before we get started, I want us to just take a moment to be able to take a deep breath, to reset before we talk, and to shake out that negative energy. Drop your shoulders, unclench that jaw, put your feet on the floor, and make those biscuits with your toes. And take one slow breath. Inhale and exhale. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that hits close for a lot of you. It's this idea that achievement is not ambition, it's survival. And when you stop achieving, you don't actually feel restful. You feel worthless. Sit with that for a minute. When you stop achieving, you don't feel restful. You feel worthless. This often happens with anxious high achievers. This idea that we are stuck in this bedrock of our mind. And as we are stuck in the bedrock of our mind, we are going from success, failure, and we have these narratives that we are leaning on. And so we give ourselves permission to avoid everything and just hustle. And we give ourselves permission to completely rot and not get stuck in any type. It's like I'm either going to be on or off. I'm performing or I'm not. And so that we can recap to where we got here, kind of that first section was awareness and connecting to our body. We learned that survival is not failure. We learn what the inner garden is, that surface soil and bedrock, that we'll be using those metaphors throughout this. And then we started to look at our narrative and try to find what the sentence beneath the soil looked like. And tonight we're going to look at how achievement itself can live in the soil, or more specifically, as I said, in that bedrock. Because for many high achievers, productivity is not presence, it's protection. And as we get into performance, remember that performance immediately pulls you into the quicksand of your mind. It's going to keep you beneath the soil. And a quick reminder is that it does not matter where you are. There is no hierarchy. It matters that you are present and let life present. There's no actualization that we're getting to. What we're getting to is knowing where we are so that we can pause, sit with where we're at, and then understand what tools we have in that place, awareness, acceptance, action, of what we want to do to build structure in that place. Because eventually you do want to go underneath the soil, below the soil, in order to be able to tend your garden above it. And so the first thing we're going to get into is performance as protection. If you grew up in environments of praise followed by performance, love felt unpredictable, attention required excellence, criticism followed mistakes, and chaos was common, your nervous system learned something very, very intelligent. that to achieve equals to be safe, and rest equaled exposure. And when cortisol rises, you don't collapse first. You're actually going to perform as a survival strategy. Let that breathe and sit with that for a little bit. As our limbic system is percolating, look at us. That is what the limbic system looks like. As the limbic system is percolating and saying, I am not safe, the first thing we're going to do is go to performance, and we're going to go straight to the bedrock, find the narrative that allows us to be successful, and start running the checklist. And what that looks like is overworking, over-functioning, over-helping, and over-planning. Achievement becomes your regulation strategy. But here is the shift. If performance is regulating you, then slowing down will feel threatening. Think about it. Think about the last time that you really rested. Did you reset? Did you rest? Or did you rot? Did you turn off all engines and shut down? Do you have 2 settings? Or do you have multiple settings? Is it on or off? Or is there balance and a dial that you can tune to? Because for many anxious high achievers, it's on or off. We're either performing or we're failing, or life is chaotic and unpredictable and we have no control, and that is a threat. So I want to explore a little more about why high achievers suddenly feel lazy, this burnout that can happen in the high achieving mindset. There's a moment that happens when many anxious high achievers burn out. They hit a plateau or something will destabilize them. And suddenly they can't access the drive the way they used to. And this they're calling laziness. They find themselves completely helpless and hopeless. Their feedback loops is well over 200. And often what it actually is the nervous system is exhausted from chronic cortisol. And when it's been elevated long enough, motivation drops, focus drops, initiation drops, not because you're incapable, not because you're lazy, but because your system is conserving energy. This is the shift from fight to freeze. Think about that. You're not lazy. You're overloaded and dysregulated. So let's take a pause and really let that all land and sink in. Take time. Remember, we want time to kind of sit with this information. To take that deep breath, those feet on the floor, making the biscuit with your toes, and name something that you see. We're going to start grounding right now and just name one thing that you see. Get that mind-body connection together. Rocco is my little buddy. This is the only chair that he fits in, but he does come to me at every session. So he's a really good grounding feature. It really helps people to feel grounded. And they see that sweet face care so much about what people says. He actually gets excited to go to work every day. Daddy is outside in nature all day long, and yet he chooses to be here with our clients, with you on your transformation journey. Say hi, Rocco. Find that grounded space. Take that slow breath and pause right here. Because if you're feeling exposed right now, it makes sense. We're in the awareness phase, and awareness will either bring you closer to action or start to feel like logically I know, emotionally I cannot feel. And there's a blocking there. We expect that block to be there. It's going to be okay. That's why we're here. The framework is awareness, acceptance, action. And in coaching sessions, when I see where you're at, when I see how you are taking on the information, then I'm going to meet you exactly where you're at. If you're having trouble finding awareness, I'm going to help you build some insight and kind of, I'm like a neighbor with a casserole. I'm just kind of waiting for you to have a barbecue outside and invite myself over and just kind of have some small talk in order to be able to get kind of deeper into what's going on. When you have awareness and insight, and anxious high achievers love rumination. So they're like, I know everything. I can tell you exactly what I think. I know why I think it. They've got it. But what they don't realize is acceptance is lacking. That what they think is acceptance is actually over justification. It's pulling logic to avoid emotion. And so we have a spectrum for that. Have spectrums for every type of change so that we're taking those guided, structured micro steps. It's not willy-nilly, and every coach has the same spectrums from this neurohumanity framework to guide you exactly where you're at and how to get you to own your present and what's one micro step you can take in order to get one step closer to a lasting change, to rewiring that brain in these little millisteps. And so as we are grounded, we're looking at old Rocco for our grounding, naming one thing. We want to look at this identity threat, because what happens is when we run out of narratives and we've bumped into chaos enough and we can't put our hand in the pot one more time, and that internal locus of control, if I put my hand in the pot, if I do something, good things are going to happen. It's not there because chaos, we don't actually have control. I hate to tell you, you don't actually have control over the outcomes. Life is chaotic. And when you don't have a narrative for success and you can't find a narrative for kind of rotting or kind of giving into hands up, I have no control, what you're going to do is get into the tar pit. Because for high achievers, achievement isn't just a behavior, it's identity. It's where our sense of self comes from. It's where our values are. So when productivity drops and we can't seem to muster up how to get ourselves motivated again, how to get ourselves to do something, it's bad. And it's not depression, as you will be diagnosed with. It's not. It's overuse on the cortisol. It will feel destabilizing. It's not just inconvenient because you rely on the anxiety to push you forward and now it's holding you back. It's very destabilizing. Because if I'm not achieving, then who am I? If I'm not performing, then what value do I have? If I'm not progressing, am I falling behind? This is where those bedrock sentences we created last week are going to start showing up. So if you haven't done that, definitely go to last week's episode 3. Go to episode 3 and make sure you're doing the narratives. It will help you. We do have a comment. Hi, welcome. I have the awareness at most times, but forget the tools to use in the moment. Yes, and that happens a lot, is that we kind of know what we need to do, but when we're looking at beneath the soil and we are in that survival, I've just got all the emojis today, and we're in that survival state, the brain does not see good, bad, or indifferent stress. It sees life or death. And so what you're pulling on is going to be implicit messages from the past on what survival and success is. And unfortunately, maybe this has changed, but unfortunately, many of us did not learn mindfulness as a survival strategy. We learned it more as kind of something that you do to kind of be able to go to bed or go to sleep or to kind of wind down. It's not usually there in high stress moments. And so it can be learned. It does take time. And so when we can practice mindfulness in a calm mind, when there's not a lot of stimulation, then what you're going to find is it's easier to pull on that motor memory. But mindfulness is the foundation to wellness, and you have to train your brain like you train your body. So if you go to the gym like 3 times a week for cardio, muscle building, maybe some yoga or stretching, then you want to also, put time in to train your mind, to sit still and be quiet, to allow thoughts to become a bubble. And when you start this, those bubbles will get into the mud. It just happens. It's okay. Start slow and success oriented and watch it grow. It will get easier. It does just take time. And just because we're below the soil doesn't mean that we are failing. It means that we have lessons that we are learning, and we just need to be present with it. And it's going to feel uncomfortable. And we have to breathe through that discomfort and give ourselves affirming language that we are exactly where we need to be. And that affirmation, that's acceptance. And that's going to trigger us to be able to take that breath. But without acceptance, we're trying to ground to narratives beneath the soil and other narratives in the bedrock to just continue to perform. It's a great question, and it happens all the time with my clients. I'm really glad that you asked that, because we're grounding to, and I'm going to talk about this, I think in May, I may be in April, but I think in May or April, I have a Cultivating Mental Blooms. April, we're going to be looking at the bedrock and how we are building our den. And we're doing every week is going to be a part of the bedrock. And then Cultivating Mental Blooms in May is going to be the quicksand of the mind. We're going to look at how that shows up. So we're going to continue to get into that. So definitely stay tuned. But a lot of times what we're naturally doing is actually just grounding to new narratives of performance. So it's really important for you to distinguish, am I performing or am I present? Because if I'm performing, take that deep breath, take the deep breath, ground, and then allow yourself an opportunity to keep asking, am I performing or am I present? And so as we are kind of looking at these bedrock sentences, some of the things that will show up is I'm only valued when I produce. If I slow down, I'll disappear. If I stop striving, I'll be left. Think about that. Let it sit with you. Do those sentences feel like they resonate with you? Can you see how those are showing up? And when those sentences activate, you're either going to push harder or you're going to shut down completely. And so it's important as we go through the AAA framework, awareness, acceptance, action, and understanding that neurohumanity is a survival instinct, behavior is predictable, that we replace the push, the demand, that discipline. Oh, that discipline we get into with curiosity. If achievement has been your protection, we don't want to rip it away. Remember, it's going to cause you to be vulnerable and it's going to feel threatening. So we don't rip it away. We get curious. We become scientists. We isolate one factor, one integer, and we notice what happens when we drop one integer at a time, just to see what would happen. The world's not going to implode, I promise you. It just feels that way. Some questions you can ask is, what does my system believe will happen if I rest? What am I afraid I'm going to lose if I found balance? If I found presence and took time for presence instead of performance? Curiosity, as we find in my rooted model, is paramount in building lasting change. Because change built from force collapses. Change built from safety compounds. We've got another question. I'm really glad. I love having conversations. Thank you for joining us. Oh, congratulations on getting a new job. And you want to do it differently. You need to go back to my Transformation Thursday. I actually, I stopped it in, I think, December. But if you go back to some of my previous articles from December onward, it actually started in May. So go to the very beginning. And on page 2 of my post, you'll actually start to see Transformation Thursday. I start from the beginning. Spoiler alert, I was completely burned out and kind of had a nervous breakdown. I'm okay with it. I needed to be emptied so that I could be filled with purpose, so that I could be used to fulfill my mission. So I'm very grateful for the time, but it hurt. It was very uncomfortable for a very long time. And what you'll find is that as you get towards the end of the transformation journey, I actually share my awareness that I was the diamond. I was the diamond in the rough. I was always looking for a good deal, and I was the good deal. I was definitely undervaluing myself and burning myself out. And I found myself in the same exact patterns over and over again in my work. And that is on Substack. So it will be some previous posts. Message me if you can't find it. I'll send you some links, and I can put it in links in the comments either tomorrow or later today when this all uploads. But I have a whole lessons learned, a lot of lessons learned. But the thing is that you are responsible for 100% of your half of the dynamic. And so if you don't figure out your half of the dynamic, it is going to repeat itself. And I have 3 parts, 1 principle. So yourself, your relationships, and your work are all interdependent and connected. And when you fix one, you're actually going to open up and be able to fix others. So it's I will send the link to you. I will, Diane, I will definitely send you the link so that you can see it. As you start to see that this negative dynamic is the survival instinct, this neurohumanity that I talk about. And you can look at the whole philosophy on neurohumanity.com. I'm actually doing some beta tests with people. So if you want that as well, Diane, I'm building an AI prompt so that instead of AI regurgitating you back to you, a good tabula rasa, it will pull from my Substack and neurohumanity.com, which is my philosophy. And it will actually give you a nice kind of in-depth. So as you start noticing behaviors, get curious. As you get into work and you start noticing your patterns, start noticing that body, remember that stress is causing a dissonance, a phobia between the mind and body. And when you notice that, and you start to say, like, for me, it was like as soon as leadership would start to fall short and I saw any type of problems in leadership, I see the lacking in leadership, man, my internal locus of control says, let me fix it. And I would get involved. I would say, not this time, Jen, you are an independent contributor. You were going to have boundaries this time. And I would do so well until I didn't, until I saw that dysfunction, until I saw that people were suffering, and I couldn't stand watching people suffer. And so I would come in with my leadership presence. I'd stir that little pot. I would burn out every time because I did not give myself value and boundaries. And the same thing would unfold over and over again. That was my half of the dynamic. But when you learn it, then you start to realize it. You start to feel when you're activated. And that's the moment you get curious. That's the moment you hold on to. And then you can put that in and say, okay, I was in a meeting and I saw this happen. And the first thought that I had is this. The neurohumanity will tell you exactly where you are under the soil and what happens, what thoughts, what behavior is happening under the soil. I attract anxious high achievers, Diane, so it does not surprise me. We are soul sisters. So yes, we will get through it. That is everything that my Substack is on. There's so much that I can offer you. It doesn't matter where you start on Substack because we have quarterly, monthly, and weekly themes. So the quarter, we're just now ending. Tomorrow starts Inner CEO. Inner CEO. Tomorrow also starts Mastering the Inner Game for the April month. And we just got out of understanding what lasting change is. So now we're getting a lot more specific, and we're going to keep getting more specific as the year goes on. So it's a great place and a great time to be able to start. This week is a bridge week. So you're actually getting all of the first quarter information and how it's going to lend into the second quarter. And so that challenge is a great way to see the rooted model and how to kind of slow down, get connected to that body, take those deep breaths, and then get curious, start being able to notice things, and then you'll be able to slowly kind of integrate new principles. And so change built from safety will compound, but it will collapse you when you try to force it. That is the language of discipline. And so what we're going to do is we have an opportunity to get into some regulation and micro action. So if you'd like us to continue, what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild through micro safety. So this connecting back to the body, because you have to tell your body you're safe. That self-trust is what builds trust with others. You've got to have self-trust. And the self-trust comes when you get that mind and body in check. Because your body is making decisions based on survival 100 yards in front of your mind. And that's where it gets phobic. And that's where it's hard. And then we start judging ourselves for, why did I do that? And then we want to blame somebody because justice, we just love justice. And so we want to blame somebody. There's nobody to blame. There's no shame, no blame in the game. Shame and guilt will hold you in your trauma and keep you in your grief. And grief is not despair and sorrow. It is a journey to acceptance. And so we take these micro moments. It keeps our system safe. It keeps us in check and self-trust. It gives us a lot of dopamine, so you don't have to sit there and scroll on your phone. You're going to get the dopamine. It's going to do so much. And that's how we create lasting change. You got to take a micro step. So tool number 1 is the 5% rule. Instead of asking, can I finish this? You ask, can I move this 5%? So you open the document, you write a sentence, you walk for 3 minutes, you send a message. The massive activation will create threat and want you to avoid. But a micro action is going to build trust. It's success oriented. You set a small goal, you will see it achieved. And that's going to give you so much clout in your inner self. Tool number 2 for micro growth is redefine what rest is. I have a lot of anxious high achievers, and again, guilty as charged. We had a dog who bless his heart, took 2.5 years to die. And he would wake us up in the middle of the night. So I was trained to wake up all night long. It took a long time for my body to reset on that because it was a lot to handle. And so what I learned how to do is reset, is be very firm on a nighttime routine, and then replay my nighttime routine as I was awakened. And as you're doing that, you're going through a set of things. And the thing that's really important is stop putting judgment on you need to sleep. Because the second you don't get sleep, then you have all the narrative of why you're going to fail tomorrow. But if you see it that your goal is not to sleep, but to rest and recover, then you change how you approach it. So redefine rest. For high achievers, it can feel like absence. It can feel like shutting down. We redefine it as regulations, like slow walk without a phone, sitting outside for 3 minutes, just getting a little bit of outside air will do everything. Stretching while breathing slowly, and doing one task intentionally at a slower rate. It's not collapsing. It is recalibrating. And tool number 3 is separate worth from output. We're creating space in all of this between our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. Every day this week, practice saying, I am valuable before I produce. It will feel unnatural. It'll feel like that itchy sweater that I talk about in my exposure hierarchy. And that's going to be okay. We are updating and mending our soil, not forcing surface, not trying to get up because, I've got to be at that produce stand. People are going to ask questions and they count on me. If I'm not there, they're going to wonder what happened. They're going to be disappointed. An anxious high achiever, to hear that they are disappointed, kill me now. Does not feel good. We're going to learn to sit with that, to realize that other people's emotions are not our responsibility. And so hopefully as we wrap this up, we realize we're not lazy, we're patterned. And that's what we're talking about in our challenge this week, is noticing these patterns that are showing up, that have been there, that have been picked up along the way implicitly. They're just things that we're hoarding. The survival brain, that primitive brain, literally hoards every stress that it comes across. Why? Because we survived that. We may need that someday. And so the point of this is to give it space so that we can kind of do spring cleaning in our mind and say, that is not in season. That doesn't serve me. I got that when I was 5. It's time to let it go. These are not heirlooms. We're not taking the stressors from our past and calling them heirlooms of something that we need to hold on to and pass to the intergenerations. Patterns will shift. And if achievement has been your shield, we won't shame it. We thank it. It helped us to survive. And we're going to slowly build new safety and form that safety together. That's what this mini course is going to do. We've got 8 more sessions. So we've got a lot of great work that we're going to do each Tuesday at 7 p.m. So between now and next Tuesday, notice when performance feels protective. Not wrong, not uncomfortable, protective. Slow down, reset. I'll see you at 7 next Tuesday. Thank you for coming. And Diane, I will put some links down. For anyone who's seen this, please subscribe. We've got so much great information. And in the comments, I'm going to put a new thing that I have, which is going to allow you to utilize the neurohumanity framework by using a chatbot. So if you pull up a chatbot, put this prompt in, ask your question. This is not a therapy. This is not a replacement. This is not for people who are thinking of harming themselves or others. This is just for you to have curiosity, to start building awareness and allow this to build your path forward. I'm Jenn Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. Thank you so much.